Breaking at 5, a chase, a shooting, a suspect wounded. Several cops rushed to the hospital.
Tonight, a traffic stop turns into a violent struggle.
They were fighting this guy.
How police risked their lives to make sure no one else got hurt.
We have been on top of that breaking news since it started early this afternoon. Skyfox live over Colonial Street in Olney, where it all ended. And it was here that police shot the driver. They say hit and injured several officers. Things have calmed down considerably. Now here's a look at where it all began. 9th Street and Olney Avenue. Police say they were trying to help a driver involved in an accident and appeared quite out of it. But when they tried to help him out of his car, he fought back, they tell us. He then used his car as a weapon, hit 3 officers, and a 4th was when the chase was on. Now, it ended with gunfire, and that man is apparently in critical condition. Good evening to you. I'm Lucy Noland.
And I'm Ian Page. We've got live team coverage for you tonight. Our Dave Schratweiser is near where it all ended. Shawnette Wilson is gathering information where the struggle and chase began, but we begin tonight with Dawn Timothy at Einstein Medical Center, where the officers are being treated tonight. Dawn, how are those officers doing?
Well, they're very lucky, Ian, and I have to tell you, police and the mayor calling this whole thing very bizarre and still at this hour trying to sort out exactly what went down. Here's what we know. It started this afternoon about 2 o'clock when officers from the 35th District were responding to reports of a driver who had crashed his car into a wall. This was at 9th and Olney. Now, officers say that that driver appeared to be incoherent, so they tried to help him out of his vehicle. And that's when they say the driver got extremely violent and engaged in a fight with the officers. And then he somehow managed to get back into his vehicle. It was a maroon sedan, gets back into the car and uses his car essentially as a weapon, running down these 3 officers. He then, according to investigators, drives to Ogons and Stenton, where he engages with a 4th officer who he also injures. The good news, though, is none of the injuries appear to be life-threatening.
I've seen all 4 police officers. I've talked to all 4 police officers. They're pretty banged up, but in good spirits. And the folks here at Einstein are doing a tremendous job to help them deal with this.
You got back injuries, you got leg injuries. I saw some arms that were bleeding. I know one officer, Mayor, I believe, went to CAT scan.
Yes.
Again, you heard one of those officers undergoing a CAT scan, the 4th officer who was injured at the end of that chase. Now, police tell us it's very fortunate that no one else was injured, that the driver hit a number of vehicles, including a fire truck, and that pedestrians were even jumping out of the way of the driver. So 4 officers injured. They will be okay. Again, quite a scene this afternoon. Ian and Lucy, back to you.
All right, Dawn, thank you. Well, ultimately, it was gunfire that helped bring this chase to an end.
Yeah, the suspect shot twice by police. They say before he could hurt anybody else. Fox 29's Dave Schratweiser is live in West Oak Lane, close to where it all ended. Dave.
Lucy, I'm really at the middle scene. It starts at that accident up on Ogons where they tried to help the man. It goes right here to Ogons and Stenton where he rams 3 police vehicles here, an unmarked car 3524, and almost takes the door off of a police SUV here. We'll show you some ground video shot earlier when it was complete chaos up here as everyone arrived on the scene. At least 2 shots fired by officers here at this scene. One of them struck the suspect in the chest. He then pulled away from this scene, drove about a block down Ogons Avenue to the 1900 block of Colonial Street. That's where his car, you'll see it here, it's a maroon Chrysler 300, smashed up on both sides of the vehicle. He parks the car, looks like parallel parks the car, and then gets out and struggles across the street. We talked to a woman who lives right across the street on Colonial, and she told us what she saw and what she heard.
Well, I heard a shot. It sounded like up the street. And then next thing I know, I seen the fellow laying on the steps over there. That's about all I saw.
Did you hear a crash or anything before that?
No, I didn't hear the crash.
Did you hear police officers yelling or anything?
Yeah, I heard it. I think I heard it. I just sound like I heard a lot of people, and I said, let me look out here. Couldn't believe what I saw. I said, I know that fellow maybe fell or something. I didn't think he was shot.
Apparently tried to run over half a dozen police officers right around the corner.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts about that?
That was awful.
Now back out here live at the scene, you can see where the door was almost taken off that 3525 35th District SUV, and then a Ford Taurus police vehicle 3524 also rammed in 2 locations, and a flat tire, and a mirror was shaved off a detective's vehicle that also joined in this chase. Again, 2 shots were fired here at the scene. The suspect was wounded here, got back in his car, drove about a block up here northbound on Ogons onto Colonial, where he parked his car, parallel parked his car, and then got out, collapsed on the sidewalk, on the front steps, I should say, of a house across the street, and that's where police took him into custody. By the way, they used the scoop and run technique there to pick up the suspect, put him in a police car, and race him to Einstein. He's in critical condition there. They did the exact same thing for all 4 officers who were injured. That is standard policy now in the police department. When officers or individuals are critically wounded or seriously wounded, picked up by police immediately, they don't wait for an ambulance, and they race him to the hospital. That's the situation from here now. Again, the suspect still in critical condition, guys. I'll go back to you.
All right, Dave, thank you. And Philadelphia police are still at the scene where this whole incident started.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out why that man crashed in the first place. Some big mysteries right now. Fox 29's Shawnette Wilson is live at that scene. So, Shawnette, what do we know at this point?
Well, this street just opened back up about a half hour ago. It's Olney Avenue between 9th and 10th Street where police say this all happened. They had the scene on lockdown for more than 2 hours this afternoon. Emergency crews and fire had the street blocked off. This after the suspect, for some reason, crashed into a blue wall along some ball fields on Olney before eventually fleeing from police. Now, witnesses described the suspect as driving crazy. That's in the words of the witnesses. They claim a woman was also in the car, but say that she got out when the suspect initially hit the wall. That has not been confirmed by police, though, that there was a woman with him. One man standing just across the street, though, describes the moments after.
When he crashed, the girl jumped out the car and said, he's having a seizure, call 911. So that's when the guy called the cops, and the cop went down there and was talking to the guy. And he was bending over, talking to the guy. Next thing you know, I seen a cop run over, and then the car backs up and takes off.
That witness went on to say the suspect pulled off and came back around again, as you know by now, hitting several police cars with officers inside. Now, let's switch to another scene. Our cameras were also at 7th and Chew, just a few blocks away, where the suspect allegedly hit another police car as he turned onto a dead-end street and tried to make a U-turn. You can see the damage to the driver's side of this police car and some red and burgundy-like paint likely from the suspect's car. As we know, again, that officer, among others, has been taken to the hospital. Now, coming up at 6 o'clock, we'll hear from a man at 7th and True who says he was there when it happened. He helped that officer who was hurt out of his car. He describes the condition that officer was in. We'll see you at 6 o'clock. Back to you.
All of this unfolding at several scenes across the city today. Let's take a closer look at how all of this happened. It all starts with a traffic stop in the city's Olney section. Police say they were called out to this area on reports of a man who crashed into a wall. And after officers tried to get the man under control, he got back into the car and then he took off. That's when a brief chase happened. The guy hit several parked cars, and then including several police cars. He also hit one officer that was on foot, and then it ended here. Actually, this is where the car in the 1900 block of Colonial, that's where the man in the car was shot by police after police say he was speeding towards them. The man was eventually arrested and is now currently being operated on. So those 4 officers were hurt, but they are not life-threatening injuries. They were quickly rushed to Einstein Medical Center. Police tell us that the 4 officers there are pretty banged up, but they're expected to be okay. Mayor Nutter says he spoke with all 4 of the officers shortly after all of this. Again, the good news is that the 4 officers are expected to be okay. Lucy?
All right, and we are also following this breaking story on myfoxphilly.com. You'll find the very latest information right on our homepage. You know it 24/7.
Developing tonight, another powerful quake in Nepal. That is video from inside Nepal's parliament as the quake hit. Lawmakers can be seen running out of that building to the streets where there was even more chaos. Those streets are already filled with debris from a quake that hit that region less than 3 weeks ago. And that earthquake and its aftershocks left more than 8,000 people dead. Also new tonight, a U.S. military helicopter carrying 6 Marines and 2 Nepalese Army soldiers is missing. A U.S. defense official says the chopper was delivering aid to earthquake victims, but right now no indication that helicopter crashed.
crashed. The military says it is now searching for that missing helicopter. So today is a 7.3 magnitude quake, wreaking even more havoc in a country that's not even close to recovering from the 7.8 shaker that struck April 25th. Aid continues to pour into that country. The State Department says U.S. government aid officials already in the region will assist in surveying the new damage and also help in search and rescue missions.
The urban search and rescue personnel who had been preparing to depart but were still in country have gotten back to work, and they are working in coordination with the U.S. military and are conducting aerial assessments.
Regarding the U.S. chopper, we understand American troops are now on the ground searching for it, and of course all the people on board. And for all the breaking news on the quake and the search for that missing helicopter, check our website. It is, of course, myfoxphilly.com. So summer heat right before a dive in temperatures, and your Fox 29 Weather Authority Chief Meteorologist Scott Williams enjoying the evening in Old City. And a look ahead. Hey, Scott.
Hi there, Lucy and Ian. Yeah, it's been the hottest day so far this year. We made it up to 87 degrees, and folks are out and about here in Old City. I'm going to step out of the way. It's still pretty warm, but thankfully there has been a bit of a breeze with those winds coming in out of the west-northwest. But those winds are going to be winds of change later on this evening as the humidity continues to drop along with the temperatures. But so far, 87 degrees, close to that record high of 91, but not quite. But take a look at the map. Out ahead of that front is still pretty warm and breezy, but behind it, high pressure will move in along with some cooler air. But look at the 80s right now. 85 Trenton, 83 Allentown, 88 right now in Millville. But you can see off to the west, look at Pittsburgh, only in the upper 60s, mid-50s in Detroit. So some of that air is headed in our direction. When I come indoors, how cool it gets tomorrow, as well as if we'll ever see any rain with that 7-day forecast. Guys, back to you.
All right, Scott, thank you. A man sees a dog locked in a car that seems to be in trouble. He says he rescued the animal, then he was arrested. Why, he's in hot water tonight.
And cacti probably don't look too out of place in Arizona, but in one town, all is not as it seems. How a cactus could actually be watching you.
We continue to follow breaking news involving 4 Philadelphia police officers tonight. The officers were hurt this afternoon after trying to stop a man in a car. It started in the city's Olney section and ended with officers shooting the man in West Oak Lane. That man is now in critical condition. The 4 officers are at Einstein Medical Center. They are expected to be okay. We'll have a live report from the hospital coming up for you at 5:30.
Developing right now, a terrifying ordeal for a family in Newcastle County. They woke up in the middle of the night to find strangers inside their Newark home. Masked home invaders got away only after holding the family at gunpoint. Fox 29's Dave Kinchin spoke with someone within the family who was inside that home in an interview you'll see only on Fox. Live in Newcastle County for us tonight. Dave, just cannot even imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. The victim we spoke with says that the suspects held him at gunpoint, beat him, and even threatened to set him on fire. And he's telling his story only to Fox 29.
And these guys came in, they put guns to my head, and they're like, where's the money? And I was like, what money? And they kept like asking me. And
An early morning surprise for this Newark, Delaware man who says he was viciously attacked by 5 men wearing ski masks and dark clothes, looking for cash at his house on Garden Lane.
They hit me right here, and they like stepped on my leg, and then they brought me here where my little sister was, and they were like, you want me to kill your little beware sister because you won't give me the money.
He says they entered after taking a sledgehammer to the front door, then ransacked the kitchen and tore apart his disabled father's room. He says they beat him too.
My dad, he can't walk, and they're like, get out the bed. He's like, I can't. And then they just threw him to the floor, and then they dragged him to the living room and then hit him in the face with the back of the shotgun.
The victim, who we are not identifying, also says the bad guys trashed his bedroom and took him to another part of the house and nearly lit him on fire.
I thought he was pouring gasoline on me, but he poured pine salt.
He says he has no idea who the suspects are and believes they even pretended to be cops.
They had a vest that said police on it, and they were like, we're here to arrest you and all that.
Fox 29 was there when a Newcastle County police officer dusted family cars for prints after investigators say the suspects got away in the family's Hummer. And while thankful to be alive, the victim says,
I was scared, but I mean, if they were going to shoot me, I mean, it would be my time to go.
The crooks he says the crooks got away with watches, they got away with jewelry and $1,000 in cash. Police say they recovered the Hummer, but those bad guys are still on the loose tonight. Ian?
All right, Dave, scary stuff. Thank you. Imagine seeing this little dog locked in a car and seeming to be in trouble. Well, in Georgia, a man found himself in just that situation, and he smashed the car window to get the little guy out to safety, but now that guy is under arrest.
Yeah, police say they had no choice. Fox's Denise Dillon picks up the story.
Somebody said there was a dog in distress.
This tiny dog was left inside a hot car with no water in an Athens shopping center. That's when Michael Hammond says he grabbed the footrest of his wife's wheelchair and smashed the car windows to get the dog out. When the dog's owner came out of the store, Hammond says she was irate.
And she said, "Who broke my window?" I said, "I did." And she said, "Why would you do something like that?" I said, "To save your dog."
Cody County authorities say the owner of the car insisted on pressing charges against Hammonds.
I full well sympathize with what he did. Unfortunately, I don't see an exception in the law that allows for that action to be taken.
Hammonds is an Army veteran who served in Desert Storm. His wife says he battles PTSD and is always the one to come to the rescue in the face of danger.
He has seen so much and been through so much. His thing is he's got to save them. And Michael comes back with the fact that I have to save lives because I couldn't save everybody over there.
Even though he was arrested and will likely have to pay for the windows he smashed, Hammond says he'd do it again.
I knew there'd be consequences, but it didn't matter. I mean, glass, they make new glass every day, but she could never replace that dog.
Well, Animal Control has issued the dog's owner a citation. So the Philadelphia 76ers are rolling out a new logo for next season.
Oh, team's calling it an updated brand identity ahead of that NBA draft lottery coming up next week. Now, the picture on the left is the last season's logo. The one on the right is the new one unveiled today. Not a whole lot different. I hope we get a good player in the draft, by the way. But the team says the makeover doesn't stop there. The Sixers are going to introduce brand new uniforms on June 18th.
All right, so hopefully that makeover just continues to extend out, right?
I hope we get Okafor.
Right? All right. Final exams. Oh, you know, stressful enough. But one test in California is stirring up a lot of controversy.
It requires students to get naked. It's happening at the University of California, San Diego. Why school officials say there's no need to get too bent out of shape about this one.
When I heard about that, I thought it was a joke, but it's true. And a mobile billboard in a Kansas town is offending a whole lot of people. The driver's invoking his freedom of speech, but could he still get in trouble?
Plus a beautiful sunset, but this isn't happening anywhere on Earth. NASA just releasing this picture taken on Mars. Why you'd see different colors when the sun goes down on Mars.
And our spring fling road trip continues. So join us Wednesday, that'd be tomorrow, right? When we take over media on Good Day and right here on Fox 29 News at 5 and 6.
Follow Fox 29 on Twitter at Fox29 Philly. Got something to say? Just tweet it. Get news, weather, and traffic updates instantly. All you have to do is follow Fox 29.
A typhoon makes landfall in Japan. The storm unleashed its fury on the southern islands after pummeling parts of the Philippines. Heavy rain and powerful winds churning up the seas. It's also taking a toll on travel with the cancellation of all flights from the main Okinawa International Airport in Naha. The typhoon killing at least 2 people in the Philippines.
People are gathering in the streets of Liberia to celebrate the end of the latest Ebola epidemic. Over the weekend, the World Health Organization declared Liberia Ebola-free. More than 4,700 people died during the crisis in Liberia alone. The outbreak hit that West African nation the hardest. At an official ceremony, Liberia's president called on authorities to renew their efforts to eradicate the deadly virus in neighboring Guinea and Sierra Leone.
Back here in the U.S., a Nebraska prison is now back under state control after a prison riot kills 2 inmates and injures 2 others. Authorities at the Tecumseh State Correctional Institution say a riot broke out Sunday afternoon. Officers were not able to take back control of that prison until early yesterday morning. They found 2 inmates dead inside a housing complex and a 2nd inmate hurt from rubber bullets. President Obama is getting support from Republicans on a potential trade deal, but finding himself at odds with members of his own party. Today, all but 1 Democrat in the Senate voted to block his request for fast-track trade authority. The bill would essentially allow President Obama to present trade agreements that Congress could reject or ratify. Republicans and other supporters say it would open other markets to U.S. manufacturers, but opponents, including Senator Elizabeth Warren, believe the trade agenda would kill American jobs.
I actually think some of my dearest friends are wrong. They're just wrong.
She can read the latest version of the negotiated document. So there is no need for this false criticism that the members of Congress aren't aware of what's being negotiated.
Supporters of the free trade deal say they'll try to pass it again, possibly starting in the House.
Almost everyone loves a beautiful sunset picture, but I bet this is the first one you've ever seen taken from Mars. NASA's Curiosity rover recorded this view in April. The image comes from the left eye camera of the rover's mass cam. This is the first sunset captured in color by Curiosity. You're looking at history here. NASA says dust in the Martian atmosphere is why you see the bluish hue on the red planet.
It's the mystery that's grabbed headlines for the better part of a decade. We still don't know what happened to Natalie Holloway, the new witness that could finally reveal what happened before the American team disappeared in Aruba. Scott?
Ian, hottest day so far for many across our area, but get ready for a dramatic drop in the temperatures. Details next.
If you have a news story or if you see news happening, call the Fox 29 News tip line at 1-800-220-6397 or email us fox29@foxtv.com.